Hello and welcome back to Frankenmuth, and a happy Memorial Day weekend to all of you here that could possibly be tuning in or could possibly be watching this at a later time. So we did finish up rolling our field of corn. I actually did that this morning off stream, but we've got this all set. You can see the weeds are still growing, but we'll excuse me. We will handle those as needed. All right, so the big task on hand today is getting our hay cut. It is April. Our weather is looking good for the rest of today. So we're going to take some time and cut some hay fields. You can see I got the 7R in here. We took off the twin tire on the back. We've just got the weighted tire. Need to narrow up the frame a little more. And let's go ahead. Let's open up the bay door here. Oh my god, I'm having to clear my throat. Sorry about that, everybody. Alright, you can see we've got a few pieces of equipment. This nice nanny. Yeah, I know the last time that I used this, I might have used this on a stream recently, but as you can see, we've got a black and green one going. We'll be using the Kverneland decks today. Mostly because we can make a windrow out of it. I'd love to use the haybine, but let's be honest, the 300 twin knife at 4 meters, cutting hay at, 11 miles an hour, that just really doesn't do much. I cannot wait for the W260 windrow to come out. That's going to be the joy. The W260 windrow is going to be the epic one for sure. Alright, let's hop in. We've got our John Deere 7R here, specially ordered from the dealer, from the factory. It's black and green, the whole setup. We can even get an arm for it if we wanted a front loader attachment. But we did go for the front PTO, and this is what we'll be using to cut the grass today, simply because this offers enough horsepower to do that. So. Sneak by the 8RX. We're taking a break from planting, but we've got one more cornfield to go. So we'll be doing some corn at some point. But I want to get down. First thing I want to cut today is the strip of grass on the far end. Get that road up. Like I said, you'll see why we're going ahead and cutting it into windrows from hay right away. All set. With a Kverneland option, I like Kverneland equipment. The John Deere equipment that they have out there, they've got a couple of different mowing decks, but it's all widespread stuff. It doesn't windrow it for you, so we'd have to actually take the extra time to ted and windrow. I have a special piece of equipment for that now, which we're going to show off in a little bit here. Sorry, everybody. I just had my lunch, so things are a bit clogged up at the moment. And I do suffer from seasonal allergies, so I mean some of this has to do with that too. All right. Obviously, we don't want to run out into traffic. Cut right in over here. This is the same day that I left you on last night at the end of planting, so the cattle are all set with their feed for the day. We're probably going to take the remainder of these hay bales and go ahead and sell them to our animal vendor in town. It just doesn't make any sense to keep them around. I'm not going to be running things with bales this year. A little bumpy. This potato field actually withered. This will be a cornfield before the month is up, so it won't matter. is, of course, one of the hay fields that we will be cutting. Oh my goodness, I am so sorry about this, guys. I sound disgusting. I really do. So obviously we needed a big enough tractor to use these mowing decks. These mowing decks are not easy to maneuver. They're not easy to use because they actually require a decent amount of horsepower. We are going to start getting some different yields off of these fields than prior. So it'll start to really look good. We don't have a yield reading off of this because I just literally turned this into a field in fall. So fall of last year, I know normally when I start a stream, I start us off right away in the first year. But I didn't want to go through that process, quite honestly. Alright, so let's change the work mode here. Let's toggle that to swath dropping. I don't think we can move those any closer. This is actually a trial, to be fair. Everything that we're using for hay this year is on trial. We're not necessarily going to keep it this way. I did want to start creating hay. So that's what we're going to do. You can see it's dropping a nice swath. Some of this may be uncuttable just because we're right up on our property line. So don't be alarmed there. The other thing that's going on that I've noticed is the sensor for the grass, kind of the coating, is actually showing up there. So those green squares that you're getting underneath there, those are not common. Those are not because of any sort of mod or anything. Well, they're not because of any mod that I know of. It's just kind of occurring for everybody. So depending on the mower style that you have will kind of depend on whether you're getting that look or not. This is actually going fairly well. I like this. I've never used the Kverneland decks for mowing. I didn't like them in FS19, to be perfectly honest with you. And you can see our range of yield. Let's bring open precision farming for a second and get a yield. So our yield's right in the 85 to 90 percentile range, which, if you look at this, is showing an 89% expected yield, which is spot on in accordance with the soil type. I don't think even bringing the pH value up would really change that, because as you can see walking out here, the pH value is spot on. So we're not going to worry about that. This field is kind of technically an extra. Depending on how much hay we pull from these three fields will actually dictate if we even go ahead with more hay or not. We may actually skip hay altogether. Or we may just turn it into more silage altogether as well. If that happens, we'll put that through as silage in our large silo, which currently has chaff from corn in it. Anything that's chaff from corn this year is going right into the bunk. The goal is to make as much of that as possible so that we can possibly skip a year, maybe even 2 years with feeding. The other thing is, I'm not sure once the population booms in the cattle pens, I'm not sure if we're going to see the need for extra food. So we're playing this first bit by ear, and by utter and complete feel. So we've got to feel our way through kind of the process of raising animals, because I realized this game's been out since November of last year, and I still haven't been able to get really kind of a read on what happens when the dairy cow or even beef cow population booms. So it's one of those things where we're kind of feeling our way through the process. So obviously, if I was playing on FS19 and we were playing on seasons, a lot of that food would be going through. Right now, with the population that we're looking at, you know, we're going to double that population here in a couple of months. So they're taking 30,000 liters of TMR a day, just about, what we put down. You know, obviously we'll line the barn with buffer hay if we need to. I want to see whether we're going to end up needing to feed them twice a day or not. If it was a regular cattle farm with the amount of cows that we have right now, 140 head of, I'm sorry, we have 150 head of a Holsteins right now, on top of 20 Brown Swiss. The Brown Swiss, you know, even in Farming Simulator 19 under seasons, the Brown Swiss would not be taking up too much as far as the breed goes, because Brown Swiss don't eat as much in Seasons mod. And the Seasons mod in 19 was very breed specific. So if you had Brown Swiss, for example, you wouldn't use as much feed up as a Holstein because they're not producing as much milk for you at the end of the day. Okay. I do like the cut that's providing. That's providing a nice cut. We're going at a decent speed. It's dropping a fairly narrow swath. I'm actually very impressed. When I used to do the Crone mowing deck on 19, they had the ability to adjust, you know, kind of where the decks were sitting. You could actually move them in, or, you know, widen or narrow the swath by pulling the deck closer to the tractor or spreading it further out. Definitely not getting that. You know, not getting that feeling like I have to make any adjustments. I didn't like the front mowing deck, I think, more than anything on that. But Kverlin's a good international brand, and so I just wanted something different other than John Deere equipment. Because John Deere equipment that we have on the current market, obviously on the current mod hub market. Whenever I refer to mods and current availability, I'm talking strictly from the mod hub. As a console player, I don't have access to PC mods from third-party sites, which is a blessing and a curse. Some players, even on PC, will not go beyond mod hub just simply because they don't trust it. And that's fine. You know, that's, you know, keeping within the testing regimen of Giants is less likely to cause a console to brick itself, for example, or even a computer to brick itself. But anyway, as far as grass cutting equipment goes, you know, we can kind of see what manufacturers we have available. Now, John Deere, we have some great mowing decks out there. You know, and there's a wide enough variety. If you don't want a windrow like this, then by all means, there are definitely some great ones that you can pick up that you can have without really having to worry. So, you might have seen the orange. I decided to do a little experiment on liming. This is pH value bad. You know, this right here is not good pH value for grass. It shows you kind of a yield, what you can expect, 80% yield, and that's kind of where the map's given us. There was a little section I ran out and I just never put lime on it, and I decided to see how much of an effect that would actually have on grass work. Because obviously it's not much of the field itself, I'm probably going to get a reading of 80% down the entire row, though, because of the fact that cutting this little strip. Some of this stuff is very unproven in precision farming, and so it becomes a challenge to kind of decipher. Obviously, these mowing decks on the sides, the butterfly deck, that's technically mowing down a section of grass that is, you know, not theirs. So it's reading a lot lower because they're getting little tiny strips every once in a while that it gets to cut and spit out. And it just doesn't work out as well as you would hope it would. So there is that going on right now. It's not honestly a big deal, but it's going to give me, unfortunately, in the yield picture, it's going to give a lane in which an 80% yield was achieved, even though in reality it was 89% across the board like it was supposed to be. It has partially to do with the soil map that we have going here. You know, we're sitting in soil that really doesn't grow grass well, and maybe we ought to till it up and start over again. I really haven't made up my mind how I want to handle that just yet. But we are taking a break from the planting to cut, and we'll probably put some slurry down on this strip of grass, get some actual nitrogen in the soil. Fold that up. Pick up that other mowing deck and fold it as well. We're just going to take the 9R and we're going to park it. Cutting and tedding will have to occur at the same time because the tractor we're using to mow is the same tractor that we're going to be using to pick up the material with at the same time. So I'm just going to place this over here, shut this off for now. You can see the expected yield across the board really is kind of in an 89 percentile range. But then, of course, you dip out and you're looking at 123% out of 125%. So the growth is expected to be really good. Okay. So we actually want to get my other 7810 out. That one I use primarily. That one in the shop I use primarily for snow blowing. We're gonna leave it that way for now. We've got the duals on this because we use it for planting. We actually have the mounts for the Green Star system. The cool thing about this tractor, and yeah, I do it, is you can buy the mounts and then buy the Green Star system for the tractor, and you can take those on and off and leave the mounts right where they're at. A lot of times farmers won't necessarily put on the mounts until they have, or won't put on the system until it's time to actually use it. So I'm going to show you an interesting piece of equipment today. This is a mod that you can get from ModHub right now. But this tedder is actually kind of unique, and I like this tedder for a couple of different reasons. Number one, it teds while it's in the row. It doesn't spread things back out. So if you decide you want to... Ooh. Oh, I have room on the other side. I'm just being a bozo, apparently. So if you have something that cuts, you can actually get away with doing this. But this is the ELO TR300. Now, the TR300 holds a very unique thing in the fact that it's a 3-point hitch. As you can see, it's kind of got these fins to direct the windrows. The grass is tossed up in and hits and collides with this windrow. This windrow can actually change width. So if you want to toggle work mode, you can actually change the width to be whatever you want. I mean, you can really spread it out if you want. I like to do a 0.5 meters. So half of a meter width. That gives us a real narrow row That means there's room for error in case the operator kind of steers off with the baler or with the with the pickup, with the pickup wagon, for example. So you get these nice windrows, but you get a lot more control over this rig too. So this is a very unique rig in the fact that it's a 3-point hitch, so you can pull it directly off the ground. Now tethers you can do that with, but they're typically the smaller tethers. They're normally not tow behinds. When they do that, but with this, you get something that you can go directly over the row. So you're not getting, in this case, I'll go up and down the field 4 times in total. So we'll pick the first row to do this with, and I'm just going to drop it down, and we'll turn it on, and we'll start the process of bringing the row closer together. So this is great because it has a wide pickup. The only thing I don't like, see we don't have access. We're going to lose a little bit of hay from the whole process anyway. But we've got 0.5 meters and we're throwing it down, and you can see it's piling it up. It makes it narrow. It TEDs it. And it works at 9 to 10 miles an hour depending on the tractor. It doesn't require too much horsepower. It's a lot easier to maneuver whatever type of implements you're using to pick up the hay. And I do like it a lot better. It makes hay work a lot easier because you can use something with a windrow. That's why we stick to it. Currently, John Deere's got a couple of things out there that cut hay in game, but unfortunately they do widespread on all of the options. You don't really have the ability to narrow it down too much. So I can get rid of a windrower. I don't need a windrower when I have a tedder like this and a mowing deck that brings it in. That's kind of half the battle at this point, is finding that niche. And even if you want to take this over straw, I think you could take it over straw and tighten the windrow up, because that's what we're doing here, is we're tightening that windrow into a nice uniform shape. And you can see the pickup is wide on this, so it's kind of a wider idea of a tedder too. Obviously if you had regular mowing decks, you could TED and windrow this at the same time, and I think that's kind of the original idea. But because it allows you to TED and windrow, you can run it over windrows and get kind of the same result. So it'll cut down our time because it's only, I only have to go up and down this strip 4 times. So it'll be a total of 8 times that I go up and down this strip to get it ready for hay. Normally you'd have to go up and down 12 times and then do the hay collection on something like this. It just goes to show you like how much work you're saving by skipping that additional step. I don't have to do anything special to skip that additional step. I just have to have this piece of equipment. We are using the modded 7810. It's called the 7810 windrow. This thing is hella crazy good. I love this tractor already. Like I said, we've got 2 of these, so obviously it works for the better. But it doesn't go through gas as quick. It doesn't brake as quick. The only reason we have a second one, to be fair, is one was on sale in the used market. So that one that we use for snow blowing is actually a used piece of equipment. But you can see, this mod just came out recently, and I don't get much time to play during the week, and I've already got 2 hours down on this machine. We don't really use this machine for a lot. You can see we have the arm specifically for the loader. We're probably going to get rid of the telehandler when we switch over to, or when we get rid of all the bales finally. And then again, we might not switch off. I haven't really made up my mind on that. I know a Kubota loader, definitely their small loader, is in the future for this farm. But at the same time, we're down to 200,000. Which means we're having to skimp because we don't know what our process is going to be for making feed for the rest of the year. We don't know how much our crops are going to give us. Obviously, we're producing some flour from leftover wheat that we took in last year in a harvest, but we don't know what kind of yields we're going to get off of our wheat fields. We don't know how much the processes are really going to cost us. We've got some greenhouses that we need to get up and going, which we'll probably do as of May. But April is planting and the first line of hay. And taking out the first line of hay means we also need to be considering putting fertilizer back into the ground. So we're probably going to do this one field at a time. We're just going to go from smallest to largest to medium size. And the reason we're doing the medium-sized one last is because the medium-sized field is across the map. There are 2 fields that are, away from the main farmyard besides that one. But like I mentioned, we're going to be growing poplars in that. The idea is we want to become a self-sustained farm for power and for heating. And, both of those things are going to be easier once we have, certain things in place. I'd love to do methane-powered stuff so that we can be 100% self-sufficient. But the reality of methane is that there's only 2 tractors that currently take it, and neither one of them have enough horsepower to work things across the farm. They're very small implements. So we'll still depend on diesel, but I want to even make seed production a thing that we handle on the farm here. So there'll be a look into seed production. I don't know if it's going to be I honestly don't know if it's going to be a definite or not with seed production. We're going to try to make it a definite. Alright, so let's just leave that on. Line up our next row here. And you can see just like, one row down, one row back. Half of the field's already taken care of. This would be a process that would take some serious time. We'd have to spend the money on a windrower. It's just not as efficient. Maybe if we get the opportunity, we'll take the diesel haybine out later in the year. But the haybine doesn't cover as much ground as the mower does on the 7R. So we just want to create as much ground as possible, because we want to have a couple of dead months in there every year. But when we're in the busy months where it's run, go, I want to be able to do it efficiently. So this is kind of the idea of picking up that efficiency and making it work. And that's kind of the idea, same idea with like the seeds, making it efficient so that we seed everything in. If we find that we have too much hay, even when we have the boom that occurs, then we will probably taper off feed schedules for a while. But we're trying. I'm going to have 500 liters of silage coming out of that silo that we haven't even touched yet. 140 cows on seasons in FS19 would make me want to triple kind of my feed output before having that many. And we came on strong. We got a lot of silage the first year. We've still got the stave silo still has about 100,000 liters of silage left in it. So I don't know how quick we're going to go through the silage. I don't know how quick we're going to go through the hay. If we do go to our own biogas plant for electricity generation, then we are going to be looking at still making the same amount of silage every year because we need to be able to make the biogas and the digestate. And the added digestate will cut down on the amount of fertilizer we're using overall because we're going to pre-treat the ground with digestate before we even send the planter over it. And obviously the hay fields can always use digestate, but if we find ourselves kind of wallowing in too much hay, we'll create the bales and sell bales down at the animal dealer as well. So we've got a couple of things planned out. The important part's going to be, of course, tedding and getting this hay off the ground, coming back over it with fertilizer to make things easier. So that's kind of the big thing. That's what's going to slow us down a little here in April. It's not really going to be the collection of the hay or anything. It's going to be just getting things handled as far as getting the hay off the ground, getting it fertilized, and getting it moving. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to do a twofold system today. We're going to go ahead and cut the next field, and we're going to ted that. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the mower off the AI. We're going to make a windrow. We're going to make a headland first, and then we're going to set the computer on it. The headland's not going to include, we've got little alcoves or little properties with homes, and in between those homes is part of the hayfield. We'll cut those separate just so that we don't have to worry about that. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to park this in one of those yards, and we'll go ahead, we'll cut the headland, and we'll cut those alcoves and get the strips all taken care of there. And then we're going to set a helper to cutting the rest of the field while we come in behind and ted it. So we'll eliminate the process. We'll get the hay off the field. It is 2 o'clock now, so we may be doing some of this in the dark, but that's okay. The hay can be a little damp when it comes off the field. What we want to do is just dry it out enough, because it's going to be going into a silo system. It's not going to be packed into a bale. But we want to try to get that done there, because the last few things we want to be doing in April, of course, are getting some actual fertilizer on the ground, and it may wait till May. No pun intended. But we might consider leaving it till May, and that would be okay as well. So, obviously, we want to get some slurry on the ground, and we'll use up the slurry before we start putting man-made fertilizers in there. But the likelihood is we'll probably still use sprayers, because we want to try to at least pull two harvests off these hay fields, and that requires a lot of work. So let's get down to the end here. I actually want to get down to the end and take a look overall at the field that we've cut, kind of see where our pH balance is. So the pH value after a single cut is actually in a good realm. Nitrogen's still perfect. That I don't get. Like, and this is learning precision farming. You see the seed rate was standard. So yeah, the nitrogen level is still within acceptable bounds. Oh, that's pH. Oop, there we go. So it looks like nitrogen levels are actually still within acceptable norms there. I don't know how we're going to do here. I'm a little concerned. But the yield percentages, they look good across the board. And I don't know why 80 kilograms per hectare seems to be the norm. Obviously, we've got some strips that I've got extra green on. You can see where crop fields are because now you're getting into much higher rates of nitrogen in the soil. So that's a wheat field, that's wheat, and that's wheat. And then we have our corn here. We'll have soybean probably in 13. And we'll actually probably put corn in 24. So we'll have we'll have two of our larger fields running corn. And then I haven't made up my mind if I'm going to do corn in these two as well. But it looks like we're not going to have to put down any nitrogen on the grass, at least for here, which is good. I'd rather not have to do that if I can help it. Alright, so let's go ahead. We'll move our tractor over. We've already got permission to park it. We're going to pretend we have permission to park it in this neighbor's yard here, because it's not going to be parked for very long. And you can see the tedder moves. It's on a hinge there on the 3-point system. So you don't really have to pick it up to turn it or anything, which is how normal tedder, single row kind of regular tedders are. The smaller tedders anyway. Alright, so let's cut our headlands. Like I said, I'm going to cut the headlands, and I'm going to actually put on our strobes here, because I need to get started. In the street. And now we can go ahead and unfold this. Swath dropping will still be enabled. When you put the work mode in, the work mode stays that work mode until you otherwise select a different one. But what we'll do is we'll put in the headland. Headland's pretty normal to have here. There is some hay underneath that's been sitting on the ground. If we were playing Seasons 19, obviously, that would have rotted away. Then we wouldn't have anything underneath to worry about. Typically like to do that. We missed it in the first year, but we also weren't carrying the cattle herd in the first year that we are this year. And you can see the yield on this field is crazy green. We've done everything we needed to do to get this field ready. So we're gonna probably have a hay output here that's gonna be a little scary. I don't have anything planted in that section of field just yet. But these give you, these types of mowing decks, they give you wonderful control. They give you a nice clean cut right away. They give you a nice clean row right away. And we want to have that sort of thing going on. I'm not sure. I'll be perfectly honest and say I'm really not sure today how the helper's gonna do with this. Sometimes cutting fields of grass with certain pieces of equipment, the helper's immediately, done, doesn't like it, will stop unexpectedly. I don't try to use helpers very often because I like to play through the entire process. But that's the thing about it, is you just don't know how they're gonna handle. So we're gonna see today how things go. Obviously, we don't want to cause an issue by going into that field. And that's another thing with the tedder that we have. We can come in, clean everything up nice and neat for hay collection. But I want to put in this headland. I don't want to run into issues where the computer is kind of skipping a step, if you will. And we definitely won't start it on this side of the field. I used the helper recently on this side of the field for something, and it's on a not on this map directly, but on a Frankenmuth that I was testing mods on, and it was kind of insane the route that the computer picked. Obviously, we've got a lawn here. Ooh, look at that. Collectible right under the tree. There's $1,000 in our pocket. That'll pay for maybe an hour of the computer's wage. You can hear the mower going. That's wicked cool. I love the sound design. It's too bad in a lot of cases you have to get kind of further away, and so you don't get a lot of the sound design that you normally would. But wow, look at that yield. We're dropping much darker than I expected to be dropping at this point. I'm just trying to get a good square going for the computer in this case. I don't want our farm hand to have any difficulty, so we will square up the field as best we can. This will also keep me busy with the tedder, though, because I'll have plenty to do while it's making the initial go of it, and so it's not necessarily as bad. But we are gonna set ourselves up with getting these alcoves done and getting that odd strip done there. Cutting grass. I'm supposed to be doing this in real life on my lawn, but the battery for my lawn tractor is dead, so it'll probably be Wednesday before I can actually mow, which is my next day off. Unless, of course, something comes up and then I work OT. It's very rare to happen. So bits and tufts of grass really don't matter to me. So we're just going to leave that crud alone. We don't need to be involved in panicking about that. I'll get something like this, obviously. Because we're not shoving as much as could be yielded out of this, I guess we're just really not getting what we anticipated. And then when it comes to actual grass collection, we'll be doing all of that by ourselves today. What is that yellow dot on the map? Does everybody else see that yellow dot on the map? Okay. Well, we're gonna take a minute here. We'll shut down the mowers. We'll leave the tractor idling. There's several yellow dots. Huh. Did they add? Oh, look at that. So it looks like they added. That's interesting. That feels a little cheaty to me. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not big into cheaty, but yeah, I'd say the yellow dots are for collectibles. Huh. I didn't even know that that was a thing. I don't think that's a thing on normal maps, if I'm being honest. So don't expect that if you're playing a base game map to be the usual, because I don't think that's the usual on base game maps. I like that green and black John Deere. That is nice. It's fuel efficient. It's not too bad as far as far as damage goes or anything like that. It doesn't seem to take too much to repair it. Still got the strobes on because we're still working next to the road. Primarily, I'm just looking to get things cut and handled, of course. And we haven't expanded out the, you know, kind of the cultivated hayfield, if you will. I'm not looking to really take the very edge of it, because you can see the yields are kind of off the charts as it is. I really wasn't expecting the yield to even reach this level this year. So that's always nice. Obviously, we're going to pay attention to nitrogen and pH levels. Probably not get as good a yield the second time around unless we cover the ground up here. So we're still going to try to fertilize. I'm just probably going to try to fertilize a little later. And the likelihood is this will be ready sometime around October, which will be fine. I don't think we're even going to be able to take the silage for the corn until September. I'm hoping anyway that it's September. And now we can just hit the rows where we need to. Although I think in order to keep the rows and not miss any grass, we got to keep straight right until we get beyond it. So I work tomorrow on Memorial Day. I know I used to kind of try to stream on those holidays because there's more viewers and everything. But Memorial Day is a very sacred holiday for a lot of people. And it's especially sacred for households that have veterans that live in them, especially veterans that served on foreign soil during times of conflict. In this case, I live in with my parents to take care of them, and you know, my family takes care of them because their income just wouldn't pass, and so we're kind of giving them a helping hand, if you will. And you know, if I get any time off tomorrow, I'll be with my family. I won't be jumping on this. You know, you never know. There might be the possibility of me getting out of work early. You never know where that's going to go. And you can see just by the windrows that the Kavernland is creating here, this is insanely good grass. Probably going to make some really good hay. And the yield numbers on this stuff is ridiculous. Because we have to use 7R for the pickup device, though, it does mean we're limited on being able to pick up at the same time that we're cutting. Oh, excuse me. I may change that down the road. But I really don't know. We're going to shut the back deck off and fold it. We're going to leave the front deck going on this run. It does lighten it a bit. Sorry, not a bitter, but a bit. But there's no point in using the butterfly decks. There's nothing sticking out on the edges that can't be immediately mowed by this. Okay. Shut off the strobes. We're done working near the road. So we're going to take this up to the other side of the field here. And you notice we haven't folded up the front deck. We don't intend on doing that. But I need to get this unfolded up there and get it started on a row. The yield was not as good on this end. And I think it has to do we're looking at yields. We want to really kind of look at soil maps for this. So you can kind of see the soil maps for the seeds, the variable seed rate. We've got some pockets in here that require high amounts of seed plant. Then we've got basically loam and clay. And you can see in our hayfield we've already got an 80 percentile score. These scores are important to environmental scores. Once we get 24 really squared away, field 24 squared away, that'll bring our overall environmental score up. But you can see kind of a lower score on the fields that have little to no work in them so far. It's not to say it won't have any, but it's like this one down here has 28. Field 40 is going to need a lot of work, even though it's strictly for poplar. We still want to make an environmentally sustainable farm system here. So that's what we're doing. Okay, so let's take a look at the soil map. Now, you can see silty clay. Silty clay really isn't very good to plant, to plant your standard grass crop on. It just doesn't grow as well in clay. But with that being said, I mean, that means the output is just going to be a little off on these fields. You can see kind of the score details. Tillage, we're at a 6.0 at the moment, but that will of course start to go up. This is only our first year of running precision farming, so it will go up. It'll just take a while to go up. All right. 7R over these. You can see it moves the tractor around quite a lot. It's very dense. These grass fields will also start to see higher score details because there's not much work that needs to be done on these fields. We did have to plow and till up a little at the beginning of our whole experience. So you're going to see stuff like that impact the overall environmental score. Drop that down. Let's get a row going. Okay, and let's hire a worker. Alright. So I'm going to get the hell out of the way. That's going to leave a little strip. I should have just zoomed around like this for a while. What we're going to start with first is we're going to start with the headland and field itself. We're not going to worry about these little juts of land or alcoves, whatever you want to call them. We are going to start the process of getting rows tedded. Because like I said, we want to clear this field. I want to clear these fields first. And clearing these fields will be a fairly simple process to go through. But it does take time to do that. So we're just going to go ahead and get things actually squared off here. Having this TED at the same time that there's rows being cut in, it's a good way to make sure that everything's being taken care of to the best of everybody's ability. I know for some of it, it could cause issues with some things, but I want to make sure that the fields are cut and taken care of. We've still got a lot of planting, but this is like one of the few days we have where it's not raining. So we have to kind of take advantage of when we don't have rain. And the only way to really take advantage of that is to get out and actually handle the windrowing. And I don't mind being in the 7810 for the foreseeable future. We're going to be on these fields until we're done with these fields, period. These two fields, anyway. I think we're going to take a break after these two fields are done and kind of do that hayfield, the last hayfield, probably towards the end of the month. And then into the month of May, we'll be able to fertilize, and in the month of June, when we get ready to harvest the wheat in July, we'll actually be able to apply herbicide and fertilizer to the appropriate corn fields as well. The corn needs to go in. I keep thinking I'm going to put soybean in, and in all honesty, we're going to put a ton of corn in. If we find ourselves with the bunk already filled up beyond what we need to be filled up for, we're probably going to move to corn meal, which is something we can do in our actual grain facility over there, that the grain mill that makes all the flour that we have. We can actually make corn meal as well. And there's actually a system to crack corn for feeding chickens. However, on another note, that is not compatible with anything on console yet. Sort of odd. So as you can see, we've got that nice and cleaned up. And actually, I was thinking of just doing the headlands, but I think I'm going to keep up behind this thing and do the rows as the computer is cutting, or as the farm hand is cutting, whatever you want to call it. Not even sure what economic difficulty we have this on, but I think this will be the only time I have to actually hire a farm hand on. Obviously, if the corn gets to be too much, we've got a John Deere 770 for harvesting. So I don't foresee that really causing too much of an issue. There's only 3 wheat fields. 2 of them are of a medium variety. I would say that's a medium variety. I wouldn't call it small. 2 of them are a medium variety. There's only one rather large one. We have more than enough room for the grain kernels now. So we're gonna try to just keep up with things the best we can this year and start to improve and maximize our output. Obviously, with feed output, the advantage you have there is if you have way too much left over, you can load vehicles and simply set those up with various, various businesses that buy actual feed. So it's not like the hay couldn't be sold if we needed to. We could sell that down at the animal dealer. We have the ability to haul quite a lot of it as well. So it's not even like we're going to have any issues there. But we are going to take the time, I think, in May to sell the rest of those bales. We're trying to use them up. But I think I'm going to shift all my usage of hay over to the silos and the hay lofts that we have set in place already. And the primary reason that I push and I do so much loose hay and I do haylage is because, unfortunately, the bale count is still a thing. And I don't know if it would really affect the Xbox Series X as much as it affects, other platforms. Obviously, on the PC, things start to stutter once you get too far along anyway. So it really comes down to whatever you have for power on your PC. I really ought to take that double axle off until I play it with this thing. But I'm not going to bother to take that axle off right now. You can see the work just goes quicker, especially on a field like this. You want the work to go as quickly as possible. I did a stream back when Frankenmuth was fairly new, and we were doing a baling contract on this field, and I used the equipment for the baling contract. And I think it was something like a 5-hour stream, and it was just me working this field the whole 5 hours. Not really an outstanding stream to go into. Obviously, we've simplified the stream right now. We're working directly off the console. There's less, believe it or not, there's less lag time. I have been paying attention to that. Look at that, only $109 for the first hour. So yeah, selling those extra bales should make up for the labor costs that I have. That's not bad. Obviously, he hasn't been working for an hour, but if that's what it costs, that's what it costs. We're gonna keep it at ×3. I don't think that clock's too fast. You know, sometimes when I get to a large field like this, I may turn it down to ×1. But we're gonna keep it at ×3. I don't think that's got too big of an effect on the overall feel or overall map. We're not rushing to avoid rainy weather this instant, and we're not getting any rain tonight. You know, let's. Speaking of which, I have an RTK station. Oh wow, when did? I don't know when they started showing all the collectibles, but that's interesting. So let's see. I've got an RTK station. It gives me updates more accurately. Yeah, even if we worked past midnight into the next morning, it's overcast. There's no rain till April the 3rd. But as you can see, kind of May, June is gonna be an increase to the temperature, which is gonna be kind of scary. But it's gonna give the wheat that last boost because I've been to Michigan multiple times before, and I can tell you that during the summer when that heat really rises, the humidity rises with it. And even though wheat needs to dry out on that last growth stage, that much moisture will give the wheat the boost it needs to push. And it'll also give our feed corn a decent push in the right direction as far as growth as well. We're into the 60s for April. It's only April the 1st today, which is really cool. But it means that we have to kind of set ourselves in motion. We're going to have milk tomorrow, which I'm going to double check the dairy. We probably, if there's enough milk there, we're probably going to skip dropping it directly off of the production and go straight in for a sale point for that. We've got a country store that we can sell the dairy to as well. So we will probably skip selling the milk to the dairy, and we'll go straight to the farm store with it. Which, I mean, in a lot of ways actually makes more sense. See, we're making good headway here. The mower is officially 3 lanes ahead of us now. But because we've squared off the field and we've done the little alcoves and things, you know, we can focus on the main field, and we can get the computer through the main field a lot quicker. And we're focusing down on tedding. We're burning through a fair bit of gasoline in the process. But like I said, the milk products that we make will help us get further. And then, of course, wheat flour and things will also be produced and give us a stronger edge to get there. So I don't see us going down the road of bankruptcy, but we do have to really watch our spending now. And we have to make sure that we leave enough in the bank to, you know, produce any results we need to. And I know you look at it and you go, well, you've got 300,000. You've got 300,000, almost 300,000 in the bank. What would you be worried about as far as money goes. Well, some of the larger tractors that we could be looking at could be upwards to $500,000. You know, tractors themselves are not cheap things. So we have to be prepared to spend money on heavier tractors. But we're also in a dairy farm, so we could spend it the opposite way on lighter, lower horsepower tractors, and we'd still be making decent money out of it. I'm gonna actually swing by and take this wide set off of this tractor. We don't need a wide set during the summertime. Fall planting is when we'll need this next, when it runs the no-seed trail that we have. We actually have a drill that we run off of this. I haven't shown it off because we haven't needed it. The last thing we planted was grass with it. It is an epic piece of equipment. This is a smaller John Deere no-till. But, you know, like I said, we haven't needed it, and we seeded some grass with it last. And we will not be seeding any more hay fields, I don't think. This is a fairly large field. You know, when we have a fairly decent time getting through it. We'll have to, at the end of this day, look through and see some of the yield data on this field, because this is fantastic. I will say I don't think, honestly, I've cut this field twice, not in this save game, mind you. This is technically the second time we've cut this in this playthrough. So technically I've seen it 3 times cut. The first 2 times I saw base game. This time I'm seeing what it's like with that layer of fertilizer there, and I have to say the yield potential and the output is fantastic. I am hoping that we're not losing money with the hay fields. That's one concern that you get, is when the hay fields are producing enough to keep your tractors out there, to burn gas, to have maintenance costs, and they don't make you enough money. That can be a serious problem to contend with. There we go. I'm enjoying being able to TED and windrow at the same time. Obviously, we could have a TEDer right behind the mower here, and then you could have a windrow follow that. But like I said, then you have extra up and down, you have an extra tractor in play. With hay work, being able to have basically 2 tractors in play during the cutting process, and then during the gathering process I will have 3 tractors in play for that. It'll just be easier to kind of go back and forth. And actually, what I think I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to have 3 tractors in play and a tractor trailer truck. Because we can park that down on the road and then drive that through to our silos. The other thing that I do want to do, which will take away some field spaces, I want to start building lanes. This particular map doesn't really have any separation between the fields, and it makes it very difficult when you have crop destruction on to get any sort of travel in. So when we're traveling, we want to make sure that we're going to be able to go between the field and the farm without actually running into any issues. Trying to keep up with the tractor, but let's be honest, I think that's going 2 miles an hour faster than what I'm able to travel at this point. So luckily though, I see the end of the field. That's like a light at the end of the tunnel itself. We want to start being able to take rows of hay off of here, as soon as we're done mowing. We want to be able to get that equipment together. That equipment is actually together right in the yard over here by the animals. So we'll be able to do a little bit more of that. But with no rain on the forecast, the smart idea is to take the first bit of hay off the ground. And in real life right now, I know it says April there, but it seems like my processes are following the things that are going on in Maine right now as well. So, you know, I saw the farmers take their first bales of hay off the field this week. So that was actually pretty cool. I got to see there's an area that I drive by that's run by the state rather than an individual farm, and they were doing hay bales, and they were doing it with an old baler with a bale tosser, and you know, that's a baler that throws bales into the bale cart, which is got a frame that's shaped like a cage. And that's an awesome thing to watch, even if you only get a couple minutes to watch it. It is still pretty cool. If you get the opportunity to drive around farm fields and see that sort of thing, it is a wicked pleasure to see. I do. I like this. I like this 10-area windrow kind of combo. I haven't tried any of the wider windrows yet because the 0.5 meters in my mind, you know, that half-meter width is perfect for most pickups. You know, it means that you can actually get some things done. It is too bad that the forage harvesters aren't able to pick up straight up hay anymore, because it would have made it real simple. It would have brought the equipment amount down even further. But you know, the other option, of course, is to have a forage harvester with a grass dryer, you know, a grass dryer production point that you can actually build. But I didn't want to add a production point to the system as it is. You know, too many of the silos for silage are production points, and they cost me money, and they don't move fast enough to make silage. Hay is kind of the same way. It just doesn't make enough hay to really justify it. And we're here making a big dairy farm on Michigan. We are making. That's what we are doing here. Stone Valley, I have some ideas for, but we're going to have less animals on Stone Valley, and we're going to have more crops on Stone Valley. So there's going to be a few different things that we're going to be doing there that are really going to be different from here. But the other thing is I want to check Stone Valley out, because in the end, dairy farms are what I like to do. Kind of doing my own thing with sheep on Comston Farms right now, but I haven't even really got started very far in that. So I have no idea how long or when some of these things are going to come to be. This is just easier. This is less time consuming than I thought it was going to be, quite honest. I was worried because, you know, the process is going to require a little work in the dark, I think, and we're going to keep working until these fields are cleared. That's kind of the whole point. Normally you'd cut first thing in the morning, and then you'd shift over and you'd head at about 11:30, and then by 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, it would be time for the forage harvester to come by and do its work.
And I realize there's no difference between silage and haylage in the game currently. We're using an all-crop silo to put the hay into. Um, but if you look at it, the blower that's designed and tacked onto the silo, that's exactly what you see people put hay into when they're putting it into hay lofts or silos that store hay. So we are imitating haylage to the highest degree possible. It's disappointing for me, honestly, but at the same time, it's like, can you really ask them to differentiate that? My only problem is, of course, once you put the hay into the silos, that are the ones that turn things into silage. Excuse me. You can't get the hay out from the ones that are actual production points. So production points are the way that they manipulate the system into giving you what you want, which is a silo that actually holds silage. But there's no way to actually pull hay out of it if you say put hay in the stave silo. It's unfortunate, and it really kind of stinks, but it's also understandable. So you have to modify your plans for hay a little. And like I said before, because of the bale count, that's why we go to loose hay as often as we do. I mean, let's be honest. That's exactly what we're doing here today. Is we're creating loose hay. I did bales the first time around. I'm not impressed because you can reach that limit real easy, even with the largest sized bales in the game. You can kind of reach that threshold so easy, and then you stand there and go, well, what the hell else am I supposed to do with all this extra hay? So obviously we have a bale shredder for our straw, which only holds 500,000 liters of bale. So that makes it difficult right there. And then we have options for dryers. And dryers would technically be the easiest way to do it, but I haven't actually tested out. There is a drying barn, and I'm going to take some time to test that out, see if it's worth our time, maybe even on Stone Valley, to dry out hay. And if it is, then we'll totally go that route. But I don't want to put in 1 million liters into something and have it only get to like 200,000 liters by the following year. It needs to be able to produce at a rate that's acceptable, because things like bunks, for example, bunks will get silage in 3 months' time in game. So, in 9 days in the game, a silo that I have packed will have all the silage I need to go the year and then some. And I think that's what's kind of... Oh my god. I think that's what's kind of infuriating about production points themselves, is it takes a lot longer. It's like that silo right up against the blue silo with the American flag on it. It's epic in design, it's accurate in design, but the problem is it's producing silage at such a slow rate that even with a couple of days passing, it still doesn't have enough silage in there to do the job. And we put the sunflowers in there in November, and now it's April, and they still haven't, it still hasn't produced enough silage. And it's a 1-for-1. It's not bad, but if it was the only silage I had, if I didn't have silage in the stave silo over there, we would have been in serious trouble. So it's harder to justify putting those silos together. It's harder to justify spending the money and building those in game. as well as, you know, taking the time to put crop in them, because all of a sudden the crop that you're putting into them, there's no guarantee that it'll be ready to do what you need it to do. So, oh, excuse me. I always find some sort of fault with it. And I mean, you know, for the modder putting it together, I understand it takes a lot of work to get that pre-programmed. I also understand that there may even be restrictions from Giants on the speed in which, you know, the mod can produce silage. There may be only so many cycles allowed because it doesn't have loss to it. It could just be bad code writing on the part of the modder too. You know, I'm not speaking from a criticism standpoint. I'm speaking from a I don't know. There are these factors that I have no idea about, and that may be seriously impacting the way that the mods work. You know, there may be requirements, there may be standards or something that I just don't understand, and I'm not supposed to understand, that will come through. So anyway, I'm putting these mods to use today. I'm putting the stream to use today. We got real deep into conversation on struggles and issues within the farming community last night. I hope I didn't get too heavy for those of you that watched. I noticed, I was really happy to notice that there were 5 views on the video from last night when I woke up this morning. I did literally go to bed within a half an hour of closing out the stream last night. I found myself with some magnificent time this week. I will tell you that over the next couple of weeks, streams will probably be limited. Maybe a day, depending on how much I get done. But it's like Wednesday. I'm on the lawn all day Wednesday. There is no doubt about that. Saturday, I'm going to be probably cleaning a bunch. Sunday, I will probably take a day for me and my family, which is something I haven't done enough of lately because, well, I've been busy with family stuff, but I haven't really been spending time with members of my family. So I need to make a better effort of balancing that out. But there is a lot of cleaning and a lot of getting ready for seasons and things going on. I think he's just about done cutting grass. Honestly, I don't... Oh, okay, I see what he's mowing. Mowing a strip of shame. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and fold the mowers up. Get this tractor. Just going to get this tractor pulled. Actually, let's get this tractor up to the yard. Oh my god. Okay, I got it moving too fast. Okay. Relax. Relax. I'm going to get it off of the windrows. I'm going to stop driving on my windrows. These windrows are beautiful and they're very uniform, and it's rare for me to actually get such a beautiful cut. So I will say, as far as the fields themselves, the Kavernland decks they're doing the trick as far as the cuts. And then of course the tedder that comes in behind. I'm not going to set this up with the mechanical stuff I need till I get back. But we are just going to go ahead and park this right here. What a fantastic tractor, right? Like, the whole setup is wicked nice. I enjoy that quite a lot. Alright, if you'll bear with me, I got to adjust my headset. Alright, there we go. Okay, so let's get ourselves back to our tedding tractor. I'm going to take one more look. Well, I'm going to take another look at pH is in good shape. I mean, that's in better shape than the pH in these other zones. Or no, that's darker now. So that, as you can see in the bottom, there's the outdated data. What will happen is this will get darker and darker as we pull more harvests off of it. So this may be the second time we've pulled a harvest off of that field. You can see our nitrogen score levels are not good anymore. Our yield levels, however, are amazing. We have 125% in a lot of zones on this. So that's some of the best yields you can expect. And you can see nitrogen's now sitting at okay. So you don't have to have much nitrogen in the crop here to really make a difference. And so that's going to help, because this is going to motivate me to put slurry on this piece more than anything, because I don't have to double up my slurry layering. Which means I may want to actually get the slurry out onto this field tomorrow. Or I may just decide to do some regular fertilizer on this yet. I don't know. Natural fertilizer is harder to come by at the moment. That may change, of course, once we actually put the once we double the population of cattle, which is going to happen very rapidly. Every once in a while, you got to take a break from talking. Commentary on these things is a pretty common tool used by farm sim YouTubers. Some of the best out there, obviously, they don't go by scripts. Sometimes they'll be commentating directly on what's going on, on the map, like all the time. Well, here's what we're doing, and then they get quiet for a while they do it. Obviously, when there's people in the chat, it allows me to kind of expand conversation topics. I would love to get some people in here that actually play the game for conversation topics, so we can talk about different things that we like about the game, or different things that we might dislike, pieces of equipment we're excited for. Obviously, there's a lot of different equipment out there. Trying to see if there is an option Doesn't look like there's an option to open closed doors or windows on this. I love this 7810. This is actually a much more accurate model of a 7810 than what Giants has available. I like the two-wheel drive variant as well as the all-wheel drive variant, but I do prefer the road crop tires to the hideous overdone tires. And I ran into one of these on I came across one of these on the road the other day when I was running a delivery out, and it was hauling a manure spreader, and I'll tell you, it had regular bulky tires on, and it took up most of the roadway. And it's kind of scary. You know, a lot of people don't realize that even the smaller equipment tends to have a lot more size to it than they realize. You know, you just don't realize how big these things are until you see them, and then it blows you away. I got to see a 9R for the first time this year, and the size was just tremendous. You don't expect to see a tractor of that size. I didn't even know that there was somebody with enough property to justify a piece of equipment that size, because you really do. You have to be able to justify a piece of equipment that big. Some of the bigger farms I know don't carry tractors any bigger than this thing that we've got here. And we have some smaller tractors coming up in the mod system. When you're doing dairy farming, you know, a lot of the feed that you produce is going to be feed that you produce from grass. Corn takes a little higher horsepower. But if you've got some basic feed types out there, you're not going to use a lot of big equipment. And depending on the farm, I mean, some farmers don't get rid of equipment until the equipment just like blows up in their face. And then they finally get rid of it. But obviously that's not something that you see with this farm. I'm having trouble justifying our articulating tractor, I'll be honest, because the 8RX can do anything that that articulating tractor can. And the articulated tractor only has, well, it has less than 50 horsepower more than the 8RX. So we have to seriously consider our options, start weighing our options. You know, maybe get rid of the 8RX rather than the 9620. But that's gonna be some thought trains for off stream. Obviously, like, one of my biggest things, and I might as well bring this up because this has a tendency to drive me crazy, and I kid you not, it drives me crazy to the umpteenth degree, as some people would say, is the complaining about articulating tractors. Complaining how difficult they are to control, how difficult they are to really manage, when other streamers and YouTubers and even people that just play the game play it and they complain about articulating tractors. Maybe I have a different brain or something like that as far as dealing with tractors, but I have no trouble with an articulating tractor at all. It's not something that I have difficulty running. It's not something that I have difficulty playing around with. Yeah, sure, you have to learn to not really crank over whatever you're using for steering. You gotta kind of ease into steering with an articulating tractor because you can oversteer. But that's kind of the whole point of the maneuverability of that vehicle, of that piece of machinery, is you need to be able to have steering to the umpteenth degree on whatever you're doing. Which, you know, leaves me a little concerned that people within farming simulator communities dislike it so much, or that they get such a bad rep, when I would honestly consider, just from what I've experienced this planting season alone, I'm considering getting rid of my 8RX, moving up, and getting rid of the 9620 to replace it with a 9630 and get a Kinsey planter. That's really where I'm honestly thinking about going, because of the difficulties that I ran into already trying to set up fertilizer. So it wasn't trying to set up the 1775 NT, but the fact that I have this nursing cart that I can't even use on that particular trailer, on that particular planter, because it doesn't have the triggers that I need to use the fertilizer tank versus using these fertilizer pallets. We carry them in pallets. And we carry these in pallets, and we have this difficulty because all the fertilizer has to be in pallets in order for anything, which means we have to consider putting in, now we have to put the pallets on the trailer as well. Do we dump one of the tanks and just do that? Or do we get a Kinsey? So I think what's going to happen for the rest of the planting season is I'm going to get a 9630 and I'm going to get a Kinsey planter. We've already got the turtle tanks. And we're going to see how it plants, honestly. I want to see, because the Kinsey Blue Power is actually bigger than the 1776. I don't need to be running modded equipment in order to have a good time on the farm. The 9630 is already modded, so it's not like I have to go any bigger. But honestly, I'm going to shift away from the exact rate tanks from the 8RX and from the 1775 or 76 planter, because of the fact that it makes it difficult for me to actually do my job. I want to be able to plant corn, and I want to be able to drag the nurse trailer out there and actually plant the corn out in the field, because the nurse trailer is going to pull up next to it. It's going to refill the liquid fertilizer from the front. It's going to do it from the back, and the discussion's going to be over. It's just going to be done. It is a serious issue that I have, because even, let's say you're planting right next to the yard. If I was planting next to the yard and I couldn't refill the fertilizer out of the liquid silo fertilizer that we actually have in the farmyard, that's really kind of foolish, because that liquid fertilizer tank has been in the game since day one. That's a base game fertilizer storage. It's not like I'm using a modded one, but what happens if I want to use a modded one? I can't. So I'm seriously considering a different approach to planting anyway. It was nice to use the 8RX for an episode of the stream. It was nice to use the exact rate tanks. I can honestly say it doesn't go through enough liquid fertilizer to really upset me. But at the same time, I don't want to have to drag it into the farmyard or drag a bunch of pallets of fertilizer out every time I want to fill the thing. Obviously, with a 150 pallet limit, I want to be able to reserve my pallets for things that I want to reserve them for. I'm going to have to load pallets up from the greenhouses and put them on trailers to take them to the storage warehouse on this side of the map already. I'm going to have to do that. I'm going to have to, put them in storage, or I'm going to have to ignore the greenhouses and put all the material immediately into the farm shop and get money back right there on site, which is something else I can do. depending on how much money is there. But I don't want to have to. I don't want to have to go through an arduous level of stupid methods to get this thing mixed, because somebody made a mod that allows me to have a nursing trailer, and I spent the money on the nursing trailer. So what happens is I either keep the 8RX and the planter and get rid of the nurse trailer, or I get a different trailer system altogether, or I get a different planting system altogether and have better luck because it refills and it redoes everything right there. A level of detail cannot make up for hardships that you have with a mod. Okay? And Sid modding was in my head when he thought the exact rate tanks on the 8RX. It's something that I've been waiting for forever since I saw them on a farming YouTube episode that I watched where they were planting and they had the exact rate tanks, and I was like, wow, that's a really cool system. I wonder why Giants never got behind that. Giants still didn't get behind that after they released the 8RX this time around. No criticism to Giants, it just kind of baffles me that they would actually waste their time not making implements to go specifically with certain tractors. We've got the Demco side tanks. I mean, there's a number of things that I could do that could really change up the system for me, but now that I'm like running into this problem with the exact rate tanks, was to say the Demco tanks don't do the exact same thing. So the fertilizer system is set up right and it looks amazing, but the fact that it doesn't actually work with compatible base game systems is a concern that I have about it. See, I'm going on mods and mod creators, and I find that obviously there's a level of detail in those mods that are fantastic, but it seems like it's easier for them to maybe come up with excuses as to why they didn't make it. So I don't think we should really take into account the fact that these mods exist, that there's an issue with them. Because looking at the issues versus looking and saying, wow, that was a really good first go of it, Sid. Can you maybe possibly make this more adaptable to... Can we get an update to this? Can we get an update to the planter, and can we get an update to the exact rate tanks so that these can be refilled from the nursing car, so they can be refilled from the actual liquid fertilizer silo? Why are we not doing... why are we necessarily not putting in a patch for these? Do you have a reason for that? You just can't code it in that way based off of the model or something? What is the reason that we can't do this? And is there a way we can fix it? Because, I was always taught fix the problem, not the blame. These modders are doing this on their own time. They don't necessarily get a lot of donations or anything. I've already mentioned just how guilty I feel about that because I really appreciate Sid modding, especially. I mean, Sid makes all the most of the John Deere mods that I play the game with. He makes a lot of just the simple tractors that I play with. Custom modding does a really good job of making the Models 2, JAHG, EY modding. Obviously I'm forgetting a bunch. We have OK Used Mods recently started making things compatible with ModHub. If for some reason somebody who watches this knows him, or or maybe you're here right now. Um, I really doubt it though on both explanations. But anyway, if you're here, if you know him or you're here, I just want to say it's been an absolute game changer of a time. Just like doing this. You've made some tremendously good placeables. I can't wait to get a hold of your sheds. I honestly might consider just demolishing one of these, putting a shed in that really kind of matches the style. Maybe we'll even demolish this one and just put one of yours in. But it's like this garage and this house. This would not be possible without OK Use mods. And honestly, I know this is an older style home. This is something you'd find in like the 40s and 50s, and you can see it's been updated on the interior, and the exterior has been well kept. But I would go for this more often if we had modders that made more of this. Like I said, the exact right tanks are really cool on that 8RX back there, and the planter. It was a real pleasure to go through and plant that cornfield the other day. But I kind of feel like at the same time it was a bit of a headache, if I'm being honest. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we will hook up. I left it on too. Good. I'm going to go ahead and hook up the first auger wagon to this. We're going to try this out and see if the 7810 can take this. I might have to pull the 1440 wagon out. We're going to try it with this, honestly. I feel with the weight on the front and with the dual tires, being able to spread out some weight on that rear axle, plus the weight should be on the trailer itself. I shouldn't actually, because of the way these trailers are set up, I shouldn't have an issue taking this, but this is what we're putting loose hay into. I realize auger wagons are not realistic to loose hay. I just want to put that out there right now, as I realize auger wagons are not used for this. Your complaint has been filed away in my mind. I am aware, but I am also going to play Farm Sim in the way I see fit. So if I want to use an auger wagon that literally takes all fill types, I'm going to use that auger wagon that takes all fill types, and I'm going to enjoy myself. And especially considering we are moving into the evening time. It's almost 7 p.m. Thank God we're getting into longer time zones here. Oh, look at that. I missed two rows of grass. So we'll have to be careful when we do hay down on this side. There's the first tractor. I'm just going to shut that off for now. I'm gonna find every vehicle except for the one I'm looking for, and it's gonna be easier for me to go ahead and come over here. I'm gonna leave the mowing deck on this side of the yard just because I am gonna have to actually transport that, and I think we'll try to transport a couple of different pieces down all at once. The easiest way to handle it, of course, is to put some things on a flatbed, which we're gonna actually do that. For now, we're gonna just detach it over here by this hose, and we can clean the mud and muck off of these decks before we reattach them. We're gonna go get our forage pickup. So we're gonna try this forage pickup out. I know I've got a pickup trailer right there as it is, so I'm well aware that we already have tools to do this with. We are going to try this out. It's an FP2M by Lizard. It's basically just an all-crop pickup head, and it looks a little more like your standard pickup heads. I'm actually going to turn the lights on. Take the cover off of this. Take the pipe out. We're gonna honestly give this a try. You can see the pipe follows the trailer like it's supposed to. I don't honestly know how this is gonna work. This is my first time using this. I did see Mr. Sealy P using it on one of his, but it's like, for instance, if I wanted to pick up that bit of total mix ration, I could pick up silage with it, so we can help to clear a bunk easier. There's just a few different ways that we can go about making life easier. What I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna see how well this works, because this may end up being a situation where we go back and forth with the pickup wagon a lot, and we don't end up using this piece. You may have noticed, or you may be familiar with some of the mods that came out the last time that the game was out, so FS19. There was something very similar to this that was like a large snowblower looking piece. So we're gonna get this pickup as far down as we can. Let's see. There we go. All right, so we are officially picking up grass. And the thing is, we're picking up grass at 12 miles an hour. That's a phenomenal piece. You can see it kind of fills up the thrower. So that'll be a little different. But what I want to do is I want to get one of these wagons actually full. Sometimes you can come in here and you can have very good luck with the first amount, and then it won't want to trigger because of where it has to throw the grass. And all of a sudden you don't have the ability to fill it all the way. And you're stuck in a really, really bad situation. So we're gonna keep an eye on that. You can open that chute wide up, so if you're doing like silage, for example, out of a pit, you could easily pick that up. It's meant as a thrower, it's not meant as a grinder. You can kind of see the difference. So far, I am highly impressed with this. Yeah, so there you go. Just got to make sure that it fills up this wagon to 100%, which I mean it ought to be able to do. Okay, so I am impressed enough with this that I'm gonna take it a step further than I was gonna take it before. Forgive me, I don't feel like running around too much today. This may be a little loud on your ears for a couple of minutes, and I do apologize. We're gonna get the Phoenix going here. We're gonna go pick up the bulk filled trailer that we have for that. That can hold 250,000 liters of bulk crop. And we're gonna park it down, and every time we fill it up, we're gonna go ahead and just bring it over to the silo and get it emptied out. I know I'm ignoring traffic entirely. I want to get down to the fill trailer here and get that hooked up. It'll be just a lot easier because we can keep it parked down there. There's our Mustang. There's our second pallet of flour, we have to, at some point, we really do need to get over here and get this stuff put away and get the forklift over here to put it into the pallet warehouse there. Yeah, that's a pallet warehouse barn that we have right there. You can see lights are starting to come on. Things are starting to darken up. So we want to try. Oh my god. So what I'm going to do while we're here, I'm just going to park this right here. We'll highlight the trailer because we're not going to need to mess around with that thrower anymore. You can see already it's it's putting out the little bit of material that it has, and now this is throwing out all of that hay as well. Like I said, the trailer can hold 250,000 liters, so kind of doing ourselves a favor by working in the evening like this. Then we just bring ourselves back over. Forage pickup and start the job all over again. This is, like I said, this is kind of in a trial stage at this point. We don't have anything guaranteed that this is how things are going to keep, but honestly at this point I like where this is going. The only thing that I can see that may be a problem, because this sort of thing did cause a problem in Farming Simulator 19, is if we pick up grass and it registers, there's enough there to register as grass instead of hay, that could stop the machine from picking anything else up until we change that over. As you can see, some of the grass is getting missed, and I'm not really sure about that yet. It's why we haven't sold the pickup wagon. We're going to see just how well this does. We are going to actually set up the spout here on the I just want to offload it while we're sitting here. There's no point in keeping this from doing its thing while it's right there. Empty out the wagon. It'll just make it a little easier on the back and forth, obviously. And now we're off again. I actually like this whole system setup. It's different. It's going to work different for the corn this year, I think. It's going to work better. We are thinking about going to a different, or I'm thinking of going to a different forage harvester next year anyway. Something that's a bit less expensive, or less big anyway. You kind of see it misses the forage when it hits a bump real hard. So luckily this will be used a lot of times to clear out the bunk system. on our silage bunk. Kind of used to get out feed, but at the same time it'll be used to fill up trailers that are heading to the biogas plant. And the biogas plant that we do will be a smaller one, so it's not going to eat up everything. Like I said, I want to see just how much of this silage and hay these cows will be eating up on a regular basis before we put a biogas plant in. The chip plant will be dependent on whenever we finally get chip plant will be more dependent, or the heater system will be more dependent on when we have wood chips available. I could technically make it so that I have wood chips available pretty much right away. But I don't want to do that. I want to actually do that on my time. I don't want cheap wood chips in. I don't want to buy wood chips from a source. I want to just make some fields of poplar, have some wood chips, maybe even sell some wood chips if it looks like there'll be too many, and then go from there. Alright, let's go ahead. We'll turn on the caution flashers because we're coming out into the road to offload. Strobes on the cab and a regular caution flasher to the back. Expand out that pipe. I'm going to make traffic beep at me for a couple of minutes. They'll get over it. This is the price of doing business right up against the road like that. Right. So we can shut those flashers right off. It's just a little after 7 now. It's coming along quite nicely. It takes a bit more to, slow this field down. We're sitting at 127,000 liters actually in the trailer right now. That's phenomenal. We're going to have a lot more hay than we know what to do with at the end of these two fields. I think it's fair to say that I'm going to go ahead and construct a couple of stave silos. And just picking up the bits that got left behind over here for whatever reason. Like I said, whatever reason. Wow, they're beeping at each other now, not just at me. See, we're managing hay only at this point, which is good. Used to be there was a bulk pickup that was similar to this. It looked like one of those giant snowblowers that you see on front loaders when they use, municipalities and things use those. And it would get a little grass in there or a little silage, and you'd go to pick up hay with it or straw with it, and it wouldn't pick anything up or blow it, and you'd be trying to figure it out, and then you'd go unload here and you'd see like a stray bit of 20, 30 liters of hay just kind of pop out of or 20, 30 liters of grass just kind of pop out, and you go, oh, okay, and then it would start working again. So I think judging kind of by the way that this is behaving and the way that this is working, I think it's fair to say that we can go ahead and get rid of the pickup wagon. And just kind of use this on the front. It's actually working really well on the 7R. You can sits kind of high. I'm not a huge fan of the fact that it doesn't go down to the ground. We're just gonna pretend that it goes down to the freaking ground, and then it'll work really well for grounding out silage. And we do, much contrary to what it might sound like, I do want this to work really well. I don't want to have an issue with no food from the cows. But honestly, given the amount of feed that they've actually eaten versus what I've created, that right there is like a tell-all, if you will. Got the other tractor right there. There we go. There. See, the lighting in this map is fantastic. It's something that I really enjoy quite a lot. This sucker emptied out 40,000 liters at a time. Let's see where we're at. Got 150,000 liters in there now. There's only a room for another 100,000 liters. And yeah, we ended on 171,000 liters. That's actually quite a bit of literage to come out of here. Not even done with this field so far. Yields were only at an 89 percentile. So if that tells you anything, it's wild to think what it's going to be like over in that other field, where we've definitely put a lot more green and it's given 125% yield. Just take it slower through the turn here. Creates quite a nice cleanup on the field as well, I've noticed. You know, there isn't quite as much left behind. That is definitely a big plus. are drawing hay off the field at quite a fantastic rate. I honestly can't believe how much hay is coming off of this field. Normally I don't do night work, but I figured it was probably time to do a little bit of that. The great thing is after today, it's not really something where I'm going to be worrying about night work. I'm going to be worrying about hay anymore. Turn on our caution flashers again. We're going to offload here in the road. Really want to honk. So we're going to come out of here a little over 200,000 liters. That is crazy. Go ahead and clear up this little alcove first. I can't believe how much grass I've already pulled out of that one small strip. And that's not even a productive zone for grass. I only have 200,000 liters there. Depending on how jacked the trailer is away from the pickup, will actually dictate if the pipe can reach it. I wish there was a longer pipe option to throw on here, but there really isn't. We're gonna turn ourselves around here and get ourselves straightened out as best we can before we start on the next row. That's, as you can see, that's going a little better now that we have direct access. A direct straight shot. So it'll be a little iffy. Obviously the pipes that we use on the harvester, the forage harvesters, are a bit different. Once again, I just cannot believe how much hay we're pulling off of here. This is a smaller strip. And it's leaving bits. I mean, you're not going to get away from that, even with a forage harvester head. I still leave behind bits and pieces from time to time. It's not necessarily as intensive as when you leave behind whole strips, like that. obviously these little rows. Everything's dark because I don't have anything lit up here. Got chicken lights on this thing. I've never really worked out at night. I don't know. I'm trying to see. Just trying to see how well lit up things really are here. A lot of people will skip working at night just simply because it's too dark. And if it is too dark, I apologize, but I'm not going to stop the stream tonight. Alright, so that's close enough to done. We're going to go ahead and take the first load. And this is another reason that we need to have a roadway put in. There's a roadway put in from the edge of our field up. To ensure that we have a clear thoroughfare for a big truck like this. I'll take the road through, but this is kind of where I want the road to go. It's right here. If we don't keep going, we will get stuck. So keep going. The closer you get to the yard, the more lit up you realize certain sections are. Certain sections are really well lit up, so take advantage of those areas. Okay, so we're going to try our luck at tipping this trailer up. See, I ran into the only problem that I really have with this whole thing. So what we're gonna need to do when we offload bigger trailers and this stuff is we're gonna need to come at it from an angle. I'm not moving the tree line here. I kind of like having the trees there. But I can... Oh. No, I can't. Okay, so coming at this at an angle is maybe off the table. Who knows? I'm just going to cope with it any which way I can. These yards are hard enough as it is. So we're just going to have to watch. Guess we don't need the caution flashers really on at this point. Will put myself here though. pH and the nitrogen are in really good spots, so... Well, it actually shut the tractor off. That happens, though. We're off again. We're collecting hay at a very decent rate. And, oh my god! Got a bone to pick with the mechanics of this machine. That's to really be expected here. But getting any sort of real sharp turn is going to stop us from getting material in there for whatever reason. Even though the pipe technically gets closer. Whatever reason, it works out better. I had a feeling I was going to crash into that tree, and I still kept going. Let's get this bit here while I'm here. I don't want any of those big chunks left behind. Oh, run ourselves out here. Want to make sure we get that in the trailer, right? There we go, an actual row that's going to work better than I thought. Excuse me. It is getting rather late in-game day. It is actually getting later in the day here as well. Eastern Standard Time. We're just going to go ahead and start down these rows next. Want to make sure we're taking straight up hay for the moment. We don't want to take grass, because then we'll have to haul this all the way back to the farm. And we're just going to let them fill up the trailer. Go. That row is going to be messed up, but we kind of knew that was going to happen on that row because of the doubling effect that it had going on there. Clearing fields. Stop right. I know I'm driving through somebody else's field. I get that. Get that you wouldn't do it in real life, I really do. But you also wouldn't grow cotton in Michigan, which is what that field is. beside this field here. So, good luck, farmer who planted cotton. I think that's the second time that cotton's been planted in that field. Grass, corn, soybeans, wheat, oat. There are plenty of things that you can plant in Michigan. Cotton just ain't one. And I really wish, Giants had described the fact that certain crop types wouldn't be available in certain regions before they were doing the initial explanation to Farm Sim 22. And I thought it was honestly very interesting. They were talking about the weather patterns being more like the region, depending on where it was, and they were talking about the fact that more things would be more along the lines with the planting, which surprisingly didn't happen. And I say surprisingly because I was really kind of hoping there that they weren't just overinflating this idea of what they were becoming. But that's exactly what they did do, is they overinflated this idea of what the game would actually have to it versus what the game ended up having to it. It's really kind of a disappointment, to say the least. And I was a little sad to see it go that route. Because one of the things that you want to really see is you want to see realism, or at least some of us want to see realism. Radio Centrum, huh? So anyway, I realize it, obviously not everyone's like really into this grand idea of realism. It comes down to the individual players. And I realize that, and it's like I'm playing with an auger wagon to collect hay. So obviously, not everything I have is 100%, but it's like a cotton field in Michigan. Really? And I know in the end that comes up to the modder that's making this particular map. But, cotton's a very rare plant to see. The regions are very specific in which cotton is grown, and so I was hoping to see a little more of that and a little less of this arcadey feel to Farm Sim. If they had forced me to put the hay into real forage carts, obviously I'd do that. And maybe if I had other people to play with, I might go that route. On a few pickup wagons, just picking up hay in the middle of the night. But they're not doing it like that. They're not doing it with that sort of realism in mind already. So I can't bash them too hard, because I'm the one sitting here using something that I'm pretty sure doesn't exist. See, it doesn't honestly take that long for us to get the hay that we need. And I am super glad that we have a truck that can carry the forage. Because as it stands, I don't think I could haul from those farther away fields. Obviously, 2 of these trailers would work okay, I think. But it's only a a matter of time. Alright, guys. So, I think at this point, this is where I'm going to leave off the stream today. Um, I am probably going to finish up the grass work and do the rest of the planting in the season by myself. Obviously, I'll try to give you an update on the grass work so you can see how much grass was actually harvested. But there's just so much of it to do. And honestly, if I get time this evening, I'll do a little. And if I get a time, holy moly, excuse me, if I get time tomorrow, I want to do a little then as well. So there'll be a few different time periods in which I'll be doing this. And the grass will just be easier taken up if I take up time on my own. Okay, we've got an 80%, 78%, 77. Our environmental score has gone up to 65 today. That is good. This field will be the big kicker. Once I get that up, that should bring everything up that I want to. But anyway, guys, that is going to do it for this episode on Frankenmuth today. Hopefully, when you join us next time, we'll be doing just some odd jobs around the farm. And we'll be done planting. If we're not done planting, of course, you'll see a little bit more of that. But besides that, that's kind of what we're down to at this point, is getting the rest of that hay in and getting the ground planted and getting fertilizer in the right spots. But we'll have herbicide spraying and a few other things to actually handle in possibly the next episode. So thank you so much for coming on, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful rest of your Memorial Day weekend. This will be the last time I stream, probably for the next week or so, as I'm going to be too busy dealing with all sorts of other stuff around the household and out in the yard. So thanks again, and have yourselves a wonderful rest of your day.